Hello, welcome to the latest edition of the LPA Podcast. My name's Sean Woolley. I'm Managing Director of Cloud9 Spain and also, for my sins, committee member of the LPA. With me today, in great company, on my right, I have Javier Pérez de Vargas, Ruedas, there you go, I put it in, who's a partner at his own law firm, Pérez de Vargas Abogados.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah.
No problem at all. Mia Pearlman, Managing Director at Affinity Group. Thanks, Mia, for joining us. And very special guest, Chris Vent, who is Director at Winkworth, Spain. And we're going to be talking today about rentals. Oh, not again. But we need to talk about rentals.
Yeah.
Mia, you've kind of bullied me into this one.
Yeah.
Quite right.
Yeah.
Because a lot, again, has been happening in the short-term rental market, even over the last couple of weeks. And Javier, you're the man for this because you're the one that notified all the LPA agents of this important. I don't know if you're regretting that now, but you were the guy that brought to our attention that there's been some positive change that is going to affect the market. What I want to do, in case we confuse people, I just want to tackle it from a very structured approach and ask you a few questions, short, simple questions, just so people listening at home can get a clear understanding of what the law says and what you can and can't do.
Of course.
So, first question. Does an owner need a tourist license to use their property as a short-term rental?
The answer is yes. A property to be rented out as a short-term rental needs to be registered in Junta Andalusia.
Yeah.
It's called the Registro de Turismo, Tourism Registry. And if this property is advertised in a website or online pages where the client can book the rental online, then you need, on top of that, a second register.
Is that like a code number or something?
Yeah, you need to get a code from a national registry that is called Registro Único. And you can do it. You have to do that through the land registry.
Good. What constitutes a short-term rental? Is there a certain time period? So if I rent my property for a month, is that a short-term rental, or 6 months, or a week? 2 weeks?
Yeah, that's a very good question because it's easy to confuse this legal term with other kind of lease or rentals that have different regulation, different requirements. So a proper short-term rental, or we call it in Spain VUT, Vivienda de Uso Turístico, is the proper term. Is rented out for tourist purposes. It's advertised through a tourist channel, meaning real estate agent, online portals, platforms. The third requirement is the length, as you said. It must be under 2 months to the same client. If we go over 2 months, then we will be talking about a seasonal rental. That is something completely different, doesn't have those requirements.
So in those cases, of anything over 2 months, they wouldn't require the tourist license?
That's right.
Okay, they become like a mid-term or long-term rental, don't they?
That's right.
Okay.
So if the tourist is coming for 3 months, or let's say in university towns where you have students there rented for 9 months, 10 months, then it's a seasonal rental and you don't need these requirements that we are going to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah.
If a property does not have a current tourist license, can an owner apply for one? And what if the community of owners has not granted consent? You know, this express consent that a community of owners, because the law has changed a few times, hasn't it, over the last few years? And now, not only do you need the license, but you also need the consent of the community of owners, which is 60% of the owners, or at least 60% of the owners representing at least 60% of the properties.
Yeah, well, of course, a new owner of a property is able to ask for a tourist license if the property meets all the requirements. The most controversial, as you said, is the certificate that must be produced by the secretary or the administrator of the community of owners. This certificate must state that the community of owners, the general meeting, it doesn't matter if it's extraordinary or annual, that was a debate, but it has been, that's solved, must give express consent approving the short-term rental on the community of owners. Okay, and that's the most difficult requirement to get in practice.
It is, because most AGMs and EGMs are not heavily populated, are they? And even the proxy votes, they never, well, not normally you get 60% of anyone voting anyway, because there's just not enough of those people. So what happens then is that the vote kind of goes back to the community, doesn't it? So if they can't pass a 60% majority in favour of holiday rentals, and or they haven't got enough of a quota or quorum, it goes back to the owners, doesn't it, by email, and then they decide.
Yeah, of course, if you have different situations, right? If the agreement has already been reached, it's difficult in practice to change that. It's possible in theory, by law. Well, if you don't have this 60%, the only way to get approval is to work with the neighbors, you know? I mean, try to convince them, or try, because it's the only way. There is a legal trick or anything that we can do if we don't have this majority. But we are talking about new licenses, of course.
Yes. If a community has already said, no, we're not allowing holiday rentals. If I'm a new owner and I want a rental license for my property, can I call an EGM for my case, for my own property, even though the community said no? Or hasn't said
it's
yes?
A complex situation. In theory, you can. It's possible. But in practice, it's difficult, right? Because to make the president call an AGM or EGM, you need by law 25% support of the owners.
Your motion, right?
Then, if you have already got an agreement against short-term rental, it's very unlikely that they will allow you, like a single owner or a single property, to do that. And on top of that, I think there would be a legal issue here, maybe discrimination, right? Because, in the end, you will have a property with this privilege and the rest cannot do it. So it's difficult,
We're getting to the really exciting part now, guys, so don't fall asleep. Because a couple of weeks ago, you very kindly informed the members of the LPA that the Junta de Andalusia had given you some information, which is very important, because there was a big debate, wasn't there, for maybe a year or two about whether the tourist license was attached to the property or whether it was attached to the owner of the property.
100%.
And the problem with attaching it to the owner of the property was that if that property was sold by that owner and somebody else came along and bought it, they wouldn't have the tourist license. They would have to go through the whole procedure over again.
Right.
That has changed, hasn't it? So what has changed?
Yeah, finally some great news, right, for buyers of short-term rental properties. Since the 3rd of April, the new regulation, that is when the new regulation came in force, the Junta Andalusia did a very strict interpretation on the law, and as you said, they asked for this certificate from the community of owners, also for transferring an existing license from a vendor to the buyer. Okay, that was very we lawyers, most of lawyers didn't agree with that.
That didn't make sense.
Because the tourist license is a property right, it's not a personal right. So as you said, it must be attached to the property, not to the person, to the owner. So we were arguing that, And this summer, we got a very solid statement from another administration, the one who solved cases that are controversial in Registro Único. Very solid, supporting this criteria. The license is linked to the property, not to the owner. So in our law firm, we took advantage to send this statement, this resolution, to the Junta de Andalucía and say, okay, here there is a big contradiction in the same issue. And we are talking about another administration. At the beginning, they didn't ask. They need an answer. It took like almost 2 months. But we insist once and again. And in the end, the 14th of October, they answer that they have changed the criteria. So for new buyers, it's not a requirement anymore to deliver with the application to change the holder of the license. It's not an obligation anymore to deliver this certificate. In fact, if you let me, I have got some breaking news for the LPA
an exclusive
podcast today. Yeah, you're right. Because as you know, after giving this news, many people said, okay, but it's not official. Let's wait to the Junta de Andalucía. So we check the Junta Andalucia's website very often. So yesterday, it has vanished from the list of documents that you need for transferring the existing license, this certificate. So if you Google cambio de titularidad, registro de turismo, you go to this section in the Junta de Andalucia's website, and you will find the form, and they only ask you for the nota simple, the updated land registry information to prove that you are the owner. That's all.
Wow.
Sure.
Yeah.
What a big difference.
So
if I want to buy a property from you and you have a tourist license in place on that property, now it should be very simple for me to take over that license, or the license stays with the property. I don't.
Talking about the Registro de Turismo, yes. With the Junta Andalucía, it's just proving the new ownership.
And I don't need to go and ask the community because you already have the license. So it's
that's right.
So effectively, even if the community are dead set against short-term rentals, if that property has that license from Mr. Brown, and Mr. Brown sells it to Mr. White, at that point, that property remains a rental property, no matter what the community says.
That's right. Because even if they ban short-term rentals afterwards, it wouldn't be retroactive.
So it's like a statute of limitations, for example, on that. So that's amazing.
So turning to our real estate experts, guys and girls, what does that mean for the market? Does it mean, are we going into a two-tier pricing system, where a property with a rental, a tourist license has more value than one without, maybe next door?
I personally, I don't know about you, Chris, but I personally cannot see how this is not going to create a two-tier pricing.
I think it's unfortunate, really, for a lot of people, in the sense that it will be more expensive to have a property, to buy their property.
I would pay more for a property with a license.
You would, but that would depend, of course, on the buyer. There's maybe a buyer that has no interest in short-term renting the property. That's nothing they want to do. It's just for their family, and then they've got to pay a premium on top of that just because that particular property they want has that license.
True, but they're going to have more choice.
True, and it will help for the resale in future as well. So they've got to think of that aspect. But it'll be a shame if it prices them out of the market for that property. However,
it's very interesting, isn't it? Because I've got a few rental properties, and I don't rent them short term. I rent long term for investment. But the first thing I did when I bought them was to get the tourist license.
Good idea, of course.
And everyone was like, "Why are you bothering?" Well, because I just feel it's safer to do that. So I actually got rid of one recently. At Señoría de Marbella, because the community had voted against, and at that time it meant that I couldn't do it. Now, of course, I'm thinking, I wish I kept it.
But let's ask our expert. Can that new person that bought from you claim that license?
I guess so.
Well, if you already got the license, you can transfer the license without any problem. Yeah,
But
I would
I'm
see.
asking more. Sorry, I'm asking more because we've had a few sales that have happened where somebody has sold it with a license, but because the law hadn't changed at that point, the new buyer has bought it without a license. So can they retrospectively go back and grab that license
And they reclaim it.
Well, if the license it's valid
Yeah, it's still
and it's in
valid.
place, it's possible.
Because it's against the property, isn't it?
But when you sell that
Right.
property at that time, you don't relinquish the license at that point. The license still stays, although the law hadn't changed at that point. You don't relinquish that license, so you can bring it back.
As long as the license is valid.
It's valid.
Yeah.
And what would make it invalid? Does it run out of time? Does a license have an expiry date?
Well, if it will make it invalid if the property
Yeah.
change and doesn't have doesn't meet the requirements,
Okay.
the technical requirements.
Okay.
Sure.
I mean, because we are focusing here about certificates and express consent.
Yeah.
But in theory, to rent out a property in short-term rental basis, you have to meet
Yes, those
more
fundamental
things,
requirements.
right?
Yeah. Like
To
air
have the
conditioning.
LPO,
Yes, yes.
and some technical issues
Yeah.
here. Yeah, and I would see this two-tier scenario very clearly in this community of owners, where you have a group of properties with tourist license because they were granted before the 3rd of April,
Yeah.
and a group of property, the rest that don't have
Yep.
the tourist license.
And the communities
Because
have
in that
already said
case,
no.
you will have tourists coming in and out anyway
Yeah.
in the complex or in the
True.
building, right? But there are some of them that are privileged, and it's
Yeah.
the same building or the same complex, right?
I've
So in
heard
that
from
case, I think it's clear.
Yeah, I've heard from other people. It's happened already, particularly in the Balearics, where you have two apartments in the same block, and one is 100,000 euros
Yeah.
more than the other, simply because it has a tourist license.
So there's the answer.
I mean, my advice to buyers has been consistently for the last few years: look, even if you have no intention of renting it out, just get the
Absolutely.
license, please.
We
just
had
do
a
it.
team meeting about 4 years ago, and I remember saying, I mean, we do a volume,
Yeah,
and I said to the team, whatever you do, whether your client is buying it for rental or not, it's such a minimal cost to get that license.
Yeah.
Just get it for them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just advise them,
Yeah.
tell them why, just because of what's happening in Palma at the time.
And they'll be
Palma.
eternally grateful, I'm sure. now.
Absolutely,
Of
that's the
course.
thing. Even if they've never rented it,
No.
Yes.
in the whole of their
Now
ownership.
they've made money with just a document that,
Yeah.
that they got because they weren't even interested
Yeah,
in
and
renting it.
that particular buyer will remember that and
Oh,
will
yeah.
obviously keep in touch with your sales
We're
agent at the
getting
time
calls
or your
now.
company. Exactly, you're getting that return
Yeah.
business from that, let's say, very shrewd but business decision then. To
Are
do
we,
that. And
are we seeing this? Is it actually happening? Are vendors going, oh, I've got a license, I can charge a bit more? Is it happening, or is it something that we think is on the horizon?
I haven't had very many vendors saying, "Can I charge more?"
No, I haven't.
No, I wouldn't
Right,
say that.
but-
it's definitely
But I
in
think
their,
they
it's in
will.
their mind.
I tell you what, when
And they will.
when the team are on tour with that client,
Yeah,
they are struggling to find those properties that have got a license.
very difficult.
Half of it is an admin job. I hear them just going, "Have we got
Yeah,
rental
yeah.
license? Have we got rental license? Have we got
So you've
rental?"
got like a
And I've actually
register
dealt-
in house,
Yeah.
haven't you?
I've been having calls actually with a couple of people from your office recently, calling me about properties that we've got with rental license and
Yeah.
Abby to be exact, as you can imagine.
Yeah, the phoning us as well.
And it's,
Sorry about that, guys.
and it's true. No, and then she's actually become an expert on it, which of course is part of her job, and it's fantastic. She knows more than me, which is great. And she literally every single property, I'm finding myself speaking to the vendor, then speaking to the community, just to answer these questions
I
for
know.
someone. You know.
Well, it has
Oh,
limited
yeah.
our stock, hasn't it? Anyone who,
Yeah, yeah.
who requires a rental license,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's 30 or 40% of the stock available is actually, we're able to do that. And that limits the supply incredibly.
Yeah.
And that's why I think the prices, they'll ask for a premium, because
Yeah,
if they've
yeah.
got a smaller amount of the market, supply and
Yeah.
demand,
Naturally
they're
they will.
going to do it. Is the answer to all of this, if you have a client who's struggling to get a property that's suitable with a rental license, is the answer to sell them something off plan? Because we know already, having spoken to various
Wow.
developers, that
This is a good question.
because
George.
developers are, well, most
And
developers,
our expert
yeah,
can answer this. What we all want to know is, does a developer have the right to start that development with the rental license?
Yeah, the answer is a big yes.
You're
In
just
fact,
coming with good
yeah,
news
yeah,
today. This is
wonderful.
amazing.
that's the key. Because
Yeah.
until the community is formed and the first AGM takes place,
right.
effectively the developers made the rules.
Yeah.
So again, my advice to clients is You're buying off plan the first day of ownership.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get your license.
Yeah, I think in fact we gave legal advice recently to a developer in West Estepona, 40 units, and they had that approach commercially, like to do a new development, short-term rental friendly, right? So we draft the bylaws, and we include the bylaws. In the end, are the law of the community of owners, right? So we include the express consent for the short-term rentals. It has been registered in the land registry of Estepona, one, and it's sold out. So I mean, it's possible. It depends on the strategic decision of the developer.
It does, because I know in La Quinta, in Real de la Quinta, I forget the name of the development, was it Olivos or Quercus maybe? They've got one block allowed, one block not allowed, one block. So you've got to be careful. I think the advice is to anyone who's thinking about investing off plan or on a new development to try and get this done, don't assume. Because it's all about, like Javier said, it's all about what's in those bylaws. And I think most developers are including that in the bylaws just to offer the flexibility, knowing that when the community is formed and the AGM takes place, it might all be reversed, but at least it gives those first occupiers an opportunity to grab a license and cover themselves.
And keep in mind that the buyer knows what he's buying, right? So they are pro short-term rentals, right? So it's very unlikely that they will have this new majority to reverse the situation.
I mean, in effect, I think every new developer should include it, because it's 1 year of that situation before the AGM happens, and then all the owners can vote. But if all of the developers could include it, and we've got a shortage of new developments on the coast right now, there's not enough for them to go around with the amount
Which
of
is
clients
crazy
we've
when
got.
you think about how many there are, but
But there's still just not enough. You know, if you need something for 500,000 euros with a sea view that's walking distance, something, forget it. Right? But if they could include it, they could also charge a premium for that. That development that you just mentioned that did launch on the basis of a short-term rental theme, that could be incredible for this coast, couldn't it?
You are solving two problems at once, because, of course, you have the express consent to register the property in the tourism registry, Junta Andalusia, and at the same time, the land register, when they check he checks the application for the Registro Único, he will have the bylaws as well.
Right.
So you will solve both problems.
double
You
whammy.
will make it so simple
easy.
for the buyers.
I must just quickly apologise for the banging and the knocking. If you're getting disturbed by it, I'm very, very sorry. You can imagine what it's like for us. It's like someone drilling through my head. I think they're doing a lobotomy. Just touching. Has anyone had?
You'd have to have a brain though, Sean, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Procedure.
Start again.
Nice to know your friends.
Sorry, you walked into that one.
Has anyone had a buyer who has expressly said to you, I don't want to be on a development where there's tourist licenses allowed?
Not necessarily.
Because I have.
I've had clients have said, I don't want to be in a development where there are a lot of short-term rentals, for example. So, for example, in Guadalmina, where my office is based in Quetzal, for example, it's a big development of a sort of older generation of people, very calm, and they specifically do not want a lot of short-term rentals in a development. That's on one side, but not necessarily. I don't want to be in
because we're talking about a two-tier market, aren't we? We're talking about those people who will maybe pay a little bit more to get somewhere where there is the flexibility of having a license. But are there people out there who will actually pay a little bit more as well to have somewhere
I think so.
that doesn't offer that flexibility because they don't want to rent it out. They know that, and they're not bothered about future value because they just don't want tourists around them. They would rather have a development that has no tourists on there. And we're noticing that. And I kind of didn't think that would happen, but in my experience anyway, it's happened. Not as much as your typical buyer wants the flexibility, but it's still a thing, isn't it?
It's all going to be very buyer specific. It's going to be depending exactly what they want at the time, and it's going to benefit some people, it's going to be negative for other people, and vice versa. It's going to work.
And that's part of now, I guess, our initial discussion with a client, the fact find and the what do you want? And even if they say I don't want holiday rentals, you've got to point out to them, well, just have a think about this longer term worst case scenario. If you want to sell or if you do want to rent, the fact that if you've got that option, and I think that's going to now be included in every discussion we have with clients.
Yeah, I think that there's going to be a lot of owners that circumstances change.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to come to a real estate agency to list their property. And that real estate agent is then going to tell them, by the way, you don't have a short-term rental license. They haven't gone to their community AGM for the last 4 years because they're not interested.
Not interested, yeah.
And all of a sudden, this realization is going to come out that, what do you mean I haven't got it? What does that mean? Well, that means it's not going to be that easy to sell.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, out of every 100 buyers, and we taught, as you know, many clients per month, right? So if I did that statistic on those clients that are coming out, what percentage want the opportunity to rent out short term? And it's really high.
What would you say it is?
I think it's about 60-70%.
I was going to say even higher.
As wanting a rental license compared to...
Yeah, but they don't
At least
want
the
it.
flexibility.
Yes.
Yes, the flexibility.
They
of
want
course.
They might not have
option
any
of
idea.
it.
Yeah. I would. If I were buying
would.
here as a holiday home or even a permanent place, I'd still think I want that in my locker.
Yeah. And if, say, for example, you are, so your parents own a property, for example, and eventually you will take over that property from your parents, whether it's inherited and you're probably not like your parents in the sense that they want to know short-term rentals for you. You want to run it as a sort of business, for example, and you want to gain an income from it. So
I think
that's something
the potential increase in value of your property compared to the cost of obtaining the license. I mean, obtaining a license is probably a few €100.
What is the cost exactly of
Yeah, what is
obtaining
the
a
cost?
license?
It's, depending if you do it yourself,
Sure.
or you do it through a law firm or a gestoria, right? But it's low. I mean,
Hundreds,
€100,
not thousands, yeah.
depending on the price of the house as well. But it's nothing.
If you think
if
a
you
few hundred
compare with-
euros and the property price, your property
Goes
value
up.
goes up by 50 grand.
Yeah.
Wow, that's probably one of the best investments you ever
Best
made.
investment you make, exactly.
You don't even need the market to go up. You just
Absolutely
need a
not.
rental license. But it's true,
Honestly,
isn't it?
that's
Right
it.
now, that rental license is worth more than the capital growth you could probably get.
In
over
our
next year.
experience, of course, there are clients who feel that the lack of tourist license is a deal breaker, right? There are others that don't care, but the majority see this like a plus, like an extra.
Yeah.
It's like, I will go ahead anyway, but if I got the license, this is a
Even better.
interesting
Yeah.
option, right?
Yeah.
So
So you've
Wow,
got
this
say
is-
a 50-50 split, right, of people wanting rental license for the developments, and you need to get the extra 10%, right? Very easy to speak to the people, the other 50%, and go, look, by the way, if we get the tourist license, your house will go up 10%, or your house will go up, and you might get your...
But I've done this
Yeah.
because I sit on three, not committees, but three
Yeah.
communities.
Yeah.
They don't believe you. So you can stand up there and say, I'm a real estate agent with 25 years experience, and I'm telling you, in
Yeah.
my view, your property prices, they're going to go down because, and they go, nah, rubbish.
happening.
So what do you say?
Well, it
I'm
won't
obviously not
necessarily
very-
go down.
But this is
but
what
no,
I
it
think.
will go up. It
Yeah.
won't
I do
go
think
up.
it's going to be a realization because at the moment everyone doesn't really care.
It's head in the sand, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Well, at the moment, it's a bit watch this space because it changes so regularly. I don't think anyone can really make a
But I think what we learned today
it's
is that
difficult to follow.
to follow up.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it is.
But
Not
you,
easy.
I have to give you credit because you were the only law firm
yeah.
to uncover this. I mean,
Yeah,
you've
well
been
done.
pushing and pushing for an answer.
Absolutely.
And when it came out on our private group, I mean, I was like, wait, what? I mean, this
What the
really
hell?
is incredible news, but nobody else was. You were either all
The
too
reaction
busy,
level
but
was,
lower than I thought.
abysmal. Really, it was a lot lower. It was quite underwhelming. I thought it would be people reacting
Yeah, I thought it would
and,
be in
and
the,
coming out.
in the
I don't think they
newspaper.
believed it.
And when sometimes you get a message forwarded so many times, it says forwarded too many times. I
Spam.
thought that would be the case. Eventually, this thing would be forwarded
No, but it
because
wasn't.
it benefits absolutely everybody. It's
Well, I put it on
vital
LinkedIn.
information.
We are sending today or tomorrow to the LPA group
Yeah.
because the members of LPA were the first to know
Yes.
this news.
Yeah.
The new regarding the website and
Yeah.
the copy of the section
We
and,
must do.
and everything. Of course, you also have the Registro Único. So if, for example, in the bylaws is forbidden, expressly forbidden, you will solve the problem with the Junta Andalusia. But you need to still fight with the Registro Único if the registration is not made with them. So it's not that simple, but it's a huge step.
It's getting better, isn't it?
I I heard a little case, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard something in a development in Madrinel where a president is in a little bit of trouble because they are a community, Madrinel, it's 6 roads, and in there are individual villas, but they sort of run it as a community.
Okay.
And the president apparently stopped the short-term rentals, and that president is now in court because of that.
Yeah.
He can't make that decision. As we said earlier, he has to have a majority, for example. So he's...
Well, first, in this case, the key is if there is a real community of owners.
Sure,
Because
absolutely.
if you are owning a villa and you don't have like common elements, you have to check in the land registry, the title deed, the meetings with the rest of the owners, if there is a real community of owners. If there isn't, I think that is going to be the argument in the litigation.
Right.
Yeah.
If there is a real community of owners, and I obliged to give this certificate, or really we are just paying a few
And also-
expenses,
Yeah.
right?
Also, there's communities that aren't doing this properly. You know, they say, "Oh no, we've banned holiday rentals," and you're like, "Hang on a minute, that's not how it works."
No, you
Yeah.
can't just
And
do
though
that.
we sent a questionnaire out to the owners, and it came back, came back 70% didn't want them. No, that's not how you
That's
do
not
this.
how you do this now.
And I've said to them, that's not how you do this, and they go, "No, it is. It's fine." So I just shut up.
Yeah.
Put your head in the sand.
Well,
sort
yeah,
it
because
again,
it's like
sounds
I
yeah.
can't fight everyone's battles, but it's amazing that communities with lawyers sitting there
Yeah.
are getting it wrong from a process
Yeah.
point of view, and that's when if people want to sue, they'll have that evidence to say, well, they didn't comply with the
Yeah.
legislation. Anyway,
You are going to be a very busy lawyer.
And a
There
very
is no-
popular one as well, I
Already.
think.
put your prices up.
Yeah,
I have people are coming at me with questions, and I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. Let's ask Javier." Let's
Yeah,
ask
okay,
Javier."
yeah.
I haven't given your mobile phone number to anybody. I'm just giving your office
Not yet,
landline
not yet.
because the
Thank
floodgates
you.
are about to open.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for what you've done
Yeah.
recently. Honestly, it's been
Yeah.
great to have a lawyer on side who understands that issue is really important to us as agents. So thank you for that,
Welcome.
and thank you guys
My
for being here today. Your
you.
contribution has been invaluable, and it's something we could talk about all day because it's fascinating. No doubt there'll be an update in a few more weeks when you have more great news. I don't know what
Yeah, I
more.
hope so.
I don't know what
Yeah.
more great news you can bring us. but
you let us
we
know
will keep
first?
fighting, right? We will
Fighting.
keep pushing and fighting.
yeah,
There we
and
go.
I appreciate that. But thanks, guys. Thanks for being here, and until next time, take care.